Today we will try to install SQL replication. We're going to use MySQL because that's one of the databases that kind of has this SQL replication baked into the system. The setup is fairly straightforward. The only thing is we have to make sure that we cover a couple of prerequisites, of course. You have to have MySQL installed on both of your servers. As you see here, there's two windows that I went ahead and set up in my Ansel. As you can see down here, there's SQL1 and SQL2. I went ahead and changed the host names for these servers, just so we know what servers are actually talking. That's just kind of a sanity check, so we know where our IP addresses are. I also have a handy dandy notepad that I'm going to be using to make sure when I put in the commands that I'm creating for you guys that you can get in the description of this video. It'll take you to my blog and you can kind of run through this exact same setup yourself. But SQL replication is really important when it comes to creating a database that you want in multiple locations. Of course, you can do database backups, and we'll also eventually do a video to talk about database backups. But database replication allows you to do a little bit more with load balancing. Let's say you had a heavy visited server and it had a MySQL database behind it, for instance, WordPress. And it just had a lot of traffic going to it, and it was actually heavily data driven. So if you had something like database replication, you could load balance the load on that server, not only from that web interface perspective, but from the database perspective as well. So if somebody goes to a load balanced server, they can also go to a replicated database. And you can replicate as many of these as you want to. Right now we're going to do this two-phase replication here because they're going to talk to each other pretty much constantly to update information from each other. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, make sure that you have MySQL installed. So the first thing we're going to do is actually configure our master, and that's our main server, and that's going to be SQL01. In our instance. Let's see if my config is in this location. Yes, it is. All right. So we're going to go down here, and we need to update the bind address if it's in here. Again, check for to see if these items exist in your database. If they don't, go ahead and actually add them. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and check this config file, because I think this is actually located somewhere else as well. Make sure it's not at the bottom of this config, because usually the bind information is built into this server. So let me do a real quick search here. And again, down here, if you want to know how to find things in your document, you can actually use some handy dandy shortcuts down here. So we're going to do Control W for where it is. We're going to paste the server ID. All right, so server ID needs to be uncommented out, as well as your log bind. Something that we're going to go back up here, because it's a little bit discombobulated here. This bind address. We're going to change this to the address of our server. And I've already kind of predetermined what that server is going to be. To 10.14.0.107. So this is the only thing that we need to do for this server. So go ahead and save this. We're going to exit out of here. And now we need to restart our MySQL database to make sure that it comes back gracefully. So the next thing we're going to do is opening our MySQL database. And we're going to do a couple of commands here. The first command here, we're going to create a user. We're going to create a replication user. And this user will be the user on this second database here. So we need our second database IP address as well. So I'm getting this command ready here. And we're going to pull, again, I have a notepad open here that I'm putting in the updated IP addresses for these servers. All right. So we're going to do that create user command. This is the create user. We're going to replicate on the slave server, and we're going to give it that password. That is not a strong password. This is for demonstration purposes only. Okay, that command is successful. The next thing that we want to do is we want to grant replication privileges on that second server. Again, we have to still go and configure that second server, but we need to make sure that we grant those permissions to that server. And that command, my friends, is grant replication slave on all.all to that second server there. The query is okay. And while we're still in the MySQL database, let's see if we can get a status of this information here. This is exactly what we want to see. So now that we have that replication stuff set up, now we're going to head over to our secondary server. I'm going to leave this one here. We're going to jump to our secondary server over here. So remember, we have that same configuration file. This configuration file, we're going to uncomment those same things that we did on the other server, except we're changing the bind address here. Oops. All right, 10.14, oops, .0.141. And now we're going to go down here to server ID. Now, server ID is going to be something special here, because server ID is not going to equal 1 anymore, guys. That means it's going to be the main server if we give it 1. So this is how you create your multi replicated servers here. All right, now that we have those two things set up, we're going to save this. We're going to exit out of here, and we're going to restart our database here, just to make sure that the changes we did didn't screw our database up royally. All right, now we're going to jump into MySQL. And the first thing that we need to do is stop the slave right here. This is going to be for us to set up the master server here. So we're going to change master to actually might have to go out and go back in. We need to do a master host and then we're going to do the host of our main server. So that's the first command that we actually need to do here. So give me a second to get this set up. And if you're wondering what that command is going to be, I'm going to put it here in just a second. But it's master host. It's going to kind of all be caps. So our master host is our and so that comma might throw me off. That's fine. It should be fine, I believe. This is our user that we set up. Next, we're going to set up our replica password. And remember, that's going to be that easy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 password here. We're going to set up our log file to log our information. And interesting. Let's see. We have to set up our, and I'm glad we kept this up actually. We need to set the position of our master log file. And our position is 621. And you can see that actually right here. That position is going to be very important because that's where it's going to be saving the log information, and it needs to be there on that master server. We have an error in our SQL. No. Let's see. Let's see what our error is. Okay, I see where the error is here. My bad, guys. We're going to do this full command here because you can do these commands individually, or you can do them all together. It was missing the change master to command. And our location was 621. All right, so I'm going to paste this in here so you guys can see this. So we're at our MySQL prompt here. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter a couple of times so you can see this. So this is our command right here, change master to master server, the user, the password, bin location, and then we have that position ID. So this query was okay. We have 2 warnings, but the query was okay. And the warning was probably because I don't know if this slave was actually stopped. So what we're going to do is to make sure that this replication works, because again, this is kind of all that we need here. On our main server, we're going to create a database, and hopefully that database shows up on the second server. Oh, I'm already in MySQL. All right, we're going to create database replication test. So we're able to create the database, and we're going to show the databases. There's our replication test there. Now we're going to go ahead and see if we are here. So here's our replication test on our second database. So as you see, the servers are identical. This database did not exist before, but it exists now. If you want to see that again, we will do oops. Jones Chris YT. Whelm. There. So the query is okay. So now we're going to go over here and actually show our database. We'll do it for both to make sure that it exists here. There's Jones Chris YT. This is our second database over here. And there's Jones Chris YT. So what this is doing is literally replicating in real time. So as things are added here, it's going ahead and adding that information to the second server. So it's kind of doing this daisy chain loop-de-loop back to back. So again, guys, if you like this kind of run-through tutorial, and hopefully this can help you in your database development or application development or web development. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comments in this video. Again, please like and subscribe to this video if you like this content. And until next time, I will talk to you all later.